Hello everyone and welcome to another class of ancient Indian history. Today we are going to talk about the Varna system which developed during the later Vedic age. So, let me write the heading Varna system. Today we actually take caste system, and whenever we have to talk about caste system, we always have this opinion that it was a system which was derogatory, which had brought many ill effect in the society, and it has obviously many demerits that we can see. But Varna system, when it came to society, there was a background and a need for the whole system that was generated. Now, if someone asks you whether there was Varna system during Rig Vedic age, well, the Varnas were there, because we do find the mention of a Kshatriya, of a Vaishya, of a Brahmana and of a Shudra as well. But was it exploitative? Was it hereditary? That is the question. In Rig Vedic age, Varnas were there, but it was not hereditary. As such, it had not converted itself into a system. Now, why did Varna system became such an exploitative tool, or why it became so rigid that people could not take any other job other than what was mentioned in Dharma Shastras about a particular Varna? Now, in Rig Vedic age, a son of a Brahmin, if he wanted to become a soldier, would have called himself a Kshatriya. A Brahmin was free to marry a Shudra who was a service class woman. Now, at the same time, this Brahmin man could also have a brother who would be involved in trade and would call himself a Vaishya. But in later Vedic age, a Brahmin son will be called Brahmin no matter what job he wanted to take. In fact, according to Shastras, a Brahmin's son was forced to become a Brahmin only. Now, let's understand the background behind the whole Varna system. So, Varna system, first fact that I would want you people to learn is that the whole Varna system developed during later Vedic age. What is the evidence that it developed during later Vedic age? Well, as we all know that in Rig Veda, the 10th mandala or the 10th chapter is the latest edition, and in that mandala we find a hymn called Purushukta hymn. Purushukta hymn of 10th mandala of Rig Veda speaks about whom? Speaks about Shudras. In fact, it speaks about all the 4 Varnas. Now, we know that this mandala was added during the later Vedic age. Now, what does Purushukta hymn say? Purushukta hymn says that there was a primordial being or the Brahman, and from his body all the 4 Varnas came out. From the shoulder came Kshatriya, from the mind came Brahmana. So, if Brahmanas came from the mind, they are above Kshatriya, because Kshatriyas came from the shoulder. From thighs came Vaishya, and from feet came Shudra. As such, Shudras were given the lowest rank in the society because they were formed from the lowest part of primordial being, which shows that the whole society was divided into 4 groups or 4 status of 4 Varnas which had different status. Now, not only Purushukta hymn, during later Vedic age, we also read that Dharma Shastras gave the title of Dvija to whom? it gave the title of Dvija to Kshatriyas, Brahmanas and Vaishyas. So, what does the title Dvija means? Dvija meant twice born. So, first you have to remember that there was Purushokta hymn which talks about Varna system, and then Dharma Shastras give the title Dvija means twice born only to the first three Varnas. Why they were called twice born? Because they were given the right to wear the sacred thread, and the ceremony was called Upanayan ceremony, through which they could start studying the Vedas. Now, only the first three group were given this right. They were allowed to wear the sacred thread and study Vedas. That is why they were called Dvija, because after studying Vedas, it was considered that they will be born twice. Now, let us look at the background that why in the later Vedic age this kind of system came up. First reason that we can see is the migration of Aryans to east. Now, what happened due to this? The Rajkulas who went to east actually colonized new land which belonged to non-Aryans. Now, when Rajkulas went, they had some antagonistic feeling towards non-Aryan. They could not have brought these non-Aryans within the Aryan fold. So, they had to demarcate them as Dasas. So, Rajkulas became the people who tried to protect their ethnicity or protect their blue blood. Along with Rajkulas, Brahmanas were also antagonistic towards these new Dasas and Dashyus who were non-Aryans, because Brahmanas protected their religion, whereas Dasas and Dashyus did not believe in the Vedic religion. As such, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas were not very friendly to these new Aryans. But on the other hand, Shudras and Vaishyas. Shudras were the service class and Vaishyas were those who were trading. They openly intermingled with non-Aryans, which resulted in lot many marriages, and these marriages may have caused progeny which were half Aryan and which were half non-Aryan. Now, this new generation of people had to be brought within the fourfold system of Varna or within the Aryan society. This was a reason to protect the the ethnicity or the clan or the the race of the Aryans. They created this whole Varna system so that Brahmanas and Kshatriyas remain at the topmost layer and they do not intermingle with non-Aryans very easily, whereas Vaishyas and Shudras, specifically Shudras, are allowed to intermingle with non-Aryans, but at the same time they are not given the privileges which Aryans enjoy otherwise. Now, this is one reason, migration of Aryans to east and their free mingling with non-Aryans, but at the same time marriages that took place was also one reason. Now, marriages might have taken place between Shudras who were service class, who were already used for clearing forests and new lands and cultivating new lands, along with Dasas. Now, Shudras and Dasas may have married each other, and this may have resulted in the more exploitative Varna system, because Brahmanas tried to protect their privilege, protect their own race on their blue bloodedness, and they did not want to involve new people who were becoming part of this Aryan clan in the whole system. Now, marriages, there is another form of marriages that took place that was called Varna Shankara marriages. Now, this was the marriage that took place between two different varnas between Brahmana and Kshatriya, Kshatriya and Shudra, Shudra and Vaishya. So, these kind of marriages were actually later on demarcated as non-acceptable marriages, and those children who were born out of Varna Shankara marriages were tagged as a separate Varna or separate clan altogether, or we can say separate subsect, subcaste or jati. Now, jati system actually came up because of these Varna Shankara marriages that took place between two different Varnas. There were two kind of Varna Shankara marriages, Pratiloma and Anuloma. Now, one of the jatis which is very famous in India, that is the Kayasth, resulted from a Varna Shankara marriage, where a father of higher caste married a mother of lower caste, and that resulted in a new jati called Kayasth. Another reason for the growth of Varna system was introduction of new industries. Now, in Rig Veda mentions certain job which are below Aryans. So, we come to read about a caste of people called Righus. Righus are tagged as non-Aryans. Why? They perform such tasks which are not accepted or which are not allowed to be performed by Aryans. Aryans are not supposed to take up such tasks. But in the later Vedic age, with the introduction of iron, many new industries got developed, and there were people who were seeking opportunity and they were ready to take up these industries and work in them. As such, most probably Shudras, who were from the lower section of the society, took up these industries more easily, like Chandelas are there, Shabras are there, Kiratas are there. They took up new kind of job, and they were segregated as untouchables or those who were in the lowest rank of Varna system. As far as Shudras are concerned, Shudras were also of two types: those who were allowed entry into the village and those who were not allowed entry into the village. Now, the term used for those who are not allowed entry into the village is Nirvisita. They were not allowed entry into the village, which shows that within Varna system there was growth of subcaste or jatis. So, if you look into the Varna system whole thing, Dharma Shastra, in fact the concept of Varna system was further crystallized by Dharma Shastra. Later on, Dharma Shastra spoke about Varna Ashrama Dharma. According to this concept, each Varna was expected to perform certain duties and follow the fourfold ashram in his life. The fourfold ashram were Brahmacharya, Grihasth, Vanaprasth and Sannyas. Every person of each Varna was supposed to do this duty, and of course along with that he had certain dharma that he had to perform. Dharma means attainment of Purusharth through performing his duties of attaining dharma, kama, moksha and of course artha, and many such new concepts were developed to make Varna system more rigid, and in later stage it became more corruptive. So, this is all about Varna system, but before I leave, I just want to remind you what are the 4 Varnas. Let me write it here. The first was Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya and Shudra. So, I have already written it earlier, but for your understanding, I am just repeating it once again, and with this I will end today's class.